So we are recording.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so welcome everyone in the chat. Feel free to just say where you're coming from if you want, if you're here with an organization, or if you have any specific questions or anything you're hoping to learn. We invite an active chat, and we also will have some sort of presentations and picture sharing throughout, but also invite you to raise your hand or unmute when it seems like a good moment for a question. We will also have time at the end to answer questions and have a conversation. So yes, thank you for joining us. We're going to hear a little bit about an elementary school effort for bike education in our public schools in Tompkins County, and we'll hear a middle school experience as well. And we'll also hear from Hector Chang, who's the interim director of Bike Walk Tompkins, and who has really held the Bicycling for Everyone process, and will share about how education fits into that plan for the county. So we'll start with him. Yeah, anything else, Peg, that I'm missing?
Yeah, I'm thinking, Grace, we probably should introduce each other.
Oh, yes, great idea. My name is Grace. I work with Bike Walk Tompkins and Ithaca Car Share. Really love this weather for biking, but I also like to be outside in all weather, and I love bringing people together around things that they're excited about, which this definitely is. So glad you're all here.
And my name is Peg Engasser. I work for the Way to Go program at Cornell Cooperative Extension, Tompkins County. I also like to be outside and ride my bike, and I brought it with me here to Michigan. However, there are no hills where I am. It is flat, flat, flat as far as you can see. I'm not sure how I'm going to get any good training in, but I'll just have to make do. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you. If you're joining late, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. I saw one or two people pop in. So I'll turn it over to Hector for a couple of minutes to share on the Bicycling for Everyone plan. And Hector, I'll let you introduce anything else about yourself that you'd like to say. Hector's just sitting over to my right, my left.
There we go. We have to like coordinate our mute situation, otherwise you just hear us double because we're close enough that our mics pick up each other's voices. But my name is Hector. I work at Bike Walk Tompkins. I help put together our Bicycling for Everyone plan, which is kind of like our action plan for how to make bicycling how to make Ithaca and Tompkins County a community where everyone has the opportunity to bike. I have a little bit of a presentation, not like a couple slides, kind of highlighting key aspects of the plan. So because most of it is actually on a website, so you guys can access it on your own time for sure. But I just wanted to highlight a couple key places that key places within the website that highlight the relevant topic of today. So I'm going to quickly grab a screen share. There we go. So I mentioned that the Bicycling for Everyone plan is kind of like Bike Walk Tompkins' action plan for our community to build a place where everyone has the opportunity to bike. And what does that really mean? Some people might ask, and that identified through our research in other places, and also locally, 14 key actions that can help remove barriers to bicycling and expand access to it that we can totally do within the next 5 years. This is not some pie in the sky plan. This is 14 targeted things that we can do. We've kind of broken them up into 5 different areas: engineering, education, encouragement, equity and access, and evaluation and planning. And today's obviously is about education. More specifically, just to quickly go through a couple of the 14, so you know kind of like the flavor of the other 5. We have ideas for a better bike network in around Ithaca, what a community bike shop should look like to help people who may be a little bit disadvantaged in terms of access to bicycling, have access to bikes. You know, we have also ideas about creating smaller open streets that can happen not only just in the city of Ithaca, but also in other places like the Village of Dryden, Village of Lansing, etc. And here's a bunch of other actions that we could take in the next 5 years. But the one that we want to talk a little bit about is the bicycling education in schools, and kind of like the vision that we've been able to come up with some stakeholders in our local community about where we want to see bike ed going in the next 5 years. And really the main kind of like overarching rah goal of this is to ensure that each child can bike to school by the time they enter middle school. That is very much something that we'd love to see. A lot of middle schools are centrally located in their neighborhoods, but just a little far enough that they sometimes have to walk or bike fairly long distances, maybe over a mile or 2, especially here in the city itself and the ICSD district in particular, that they would benefit from having, that kids that are going to middle school would benefit from having access to bicycling and also using it as a way to get around just in their daily life so they can be more independent. So in addition, to get us to that goal, we would love to see bicycling be introduced at all elementary schools in Tompkins County so that people, regardless of their circumstance at home, can learn how to bike. We know that bicycling, you know, you have to have access to a bike, you have to have access to a parent or a family member that really wants to teach you how to do it. And they also have to kind of know at some point how to teach you to ride on the road if the goal is to get you to be able to bike to middle school. So we see kind of like 2 paths towards that. We want to see like an early elementary learn to ride program. So people who have zero knowledge of bicycling, kids who have zero knowledge of bicycling can get caught up in an early elementary phase. And hopefully by the time that they leave elementary school and head up to middle school, sort of grade 4, grade 5, they get some lessons on street skills so they can feel safe and comfortable bicycling on the sidewalk, on some local roads, neighborhood roads, and maybe even if they're confident enough, bicycling on more busy roads. Obviously, PE teachers and school administrators are very important collaborators to get us to this vision, this ideal future of ours. And we look forward to supporting schools to more fully establish and continue their bike programs in the near future. You can read more all about it and all the other actions in our education chapter in our website. We have an early preview of that. You can go to bikewanttompkins.org/everyone to read up on everything, all 14 actions that we outlined, but also focus on the ones that you're interested in. And right now, we're seeking your feedback about the key actions, who you think are good collaborators, or maybe you might be a good collaborator that we want to work with in the future, and also get involved in pushing for change on all the different actions. We want to see improvements in education, but we also want to see improvements, for example, in infrastructure so that kids, people of all ages, kids, seniors, etc., feel safe riding on the road as well. Not the roads that we have right now, but the roads that we will have in the future. For more info or to give us your feedback, you can contact us at hello@bikewanttompkins.org or give us an old-timey phone call. We have phones, people. All right, that's it. I'm very excited to hear what all of you have to share, especially people who are actually doing the work, the hard work of teaching kids how to bike in their schools, what their tips and tricks and what they've been able to do in their own schools. So I'm happy to hand it back to you, Grace.
Thank you, Hector. So I got I have an up to the minute update. Megan, who was hoping to join us, is a classroom teacher, and it is 12:15 on a Tuesday. So she was hoping to join and she can't, but she passed on some information, which in some ways is a great segue off of the Bicycling for Everyone plan, because her bike education in schools origin story is from BJM. So these pictures are of Bike Walk Tompkins Molly Hajar, and who's on this call, and is a great resource, and Megan McGinley, who is a new elementary school teacher at Cuga Heights Elementary. And when she was doing her student teaching last spring at BJM, she saw that there was a fleet of bikes. She wanted to do a project-based learning unit for her certification that taught life skills while teaching grade level standards. So if you are an educator in the public school system, that is speaking your language, I hope. The choice of bikes grew from a combination of giving independence to kids from families who may not have car security or frequent access to a car in the resource of Ribs, which was just down the street from BJM. She used the bike unit in tandem with their morning math worksheets, and reading was tied in too, and with a writing unit. So she was going to finish with a field trip to Ribs in a persuasive piece where the kids wrote to an adult in their life to convince them to come with them to Ribs to fix up a kid's bike for free. But COVID cut that off too early. But I love that vision, and I think that vision will be possible in the future.
Grace, can I just interject here? Ribs, for anybody who may not know, stands for Recycling Ithaca's Bicycles. And it was a shop that was located on Meadow Street downtown, where they did just a lot of community work. They'd let people come in and repair their bikes. They taught people how to repair bikes. The status is kind of in limbo right now, but more on that in a future session.
Thank you. So BJM with some support from Bike Walk Tompkins had been doing second grade bikes in the spring, bike education, but she had wanted to do it earlier to capitalize on taking field trips downtown all summer. So Megan reached out to Bart, who is the vice principal at BJM, I believe, and Bob Amato, PE teacher, and asked to use the bikes. They practiced hand signals and street safety in the hallways on the way to pick up the bikes. So if you imagine some second graders doing arm signals down the hall. She took the pedals off to make the bikes into strider bikes to teach balance skills, and integrated using handbrakes when folks were ready with balancing, and then they earned their pedals. So, but right before COVID hit, they were at the point of biking around and through the park behind the school. So practicing their signals and utilizing the skills right before COVID. So at Cuga Heights Elementary, where Megan moved after she student taught at BJM, she brought the same passion and then networked with parents and other teachers and asked for help and support. And she said the biggest hurdle was making space to store bikes that she borrowed, I believe, from Fall Creek Elementary School, which she got in touch with Bike Walk Tompkins to try to facilitate some borrowing there. So just utilizing the resources that exist in the community and asking for help are some key pieces to her launching a new program. So next, her goal is to get a fleet that is all their own. And she sent along a few pictures, so I'll show those real quick before we move on. So these are bikes, kids guessing what's in the helmet box and labeling a bike for a nonfiction piece. So she's already integrating, I just see the three pictures, but so she's already integrating the bike education into her curriculum, even though they're just getting on the road now, I think. So, all right.
Hey, Grace, what was that second picture? Sorry. Oh, it's a,
Yeah,
oh, I see.
it looks
She's.
Go ahead.
Well, Well, I see it's a plant label, so they're probably, I don't know, touring around on bikes. Those.
Yeah. And then this, yeah, and so going back here, this is the bike delivery, and Molly loaded a car share truck up with bikes and from Fall Creek Elementary and facilitated a borrow from them. And here's the shed that I believe Megan worked with parents and the parent found the parent organization of the school to access the shed. Yeah. If folks have an interest in connecting with Megan or have questions, let's chat more about it after we hear from Janine.
Okay. Thanks, Grace, for that on-the-fly update from
I really was live reading the email for the first time, so I hope that wasn't too bumpy for everyone.
No, it was seamless. Okay, so our next presenter, go ahead, do you have a question?
I was just going to introduce myself, but if you want to introduce me, that's fine.
By all means, take it away.
So I'm Janine Bennett, and I work at Dryden Middle School. I'm a middle school teacher here. I've been here for 27 years. So middle school for 27 years, people say I'm crazy, but they're my favorite. So I wouldn't give them up for the world. Anyway, we started our biking. It was fun to listen to. Sorry, my ADHD, and this is a lot about ADHD. If I jump around, pull me back in. Don't be like, wait a minute, Janine, come on back, because I will jump around at times. But I got to work with some teachers down at Beverly J. Martin 2 years ago when they were trying to figure out how to bring their biking in. I went down and I got to talk to them, and we talked about our biking unit and how we can help make them get it going. So it's really kind of cool to hear that that's gotten bigger. I knew it had, but I hadn't been in touch with them again since then. And I knew it had started to stretch and get bigger in the Ithaca school. So that's really awesome to hear that. 3 years ago, we got a grant. This was our third year completing it, from the Specialized Foundation, which is out of California. And the guy who runs Specialized Bicycling, he has ADHD. And he found that riding his bike made a huge difference in how he can cope day to day with his distractions. So he found he did better at work, he did better at school, he did better in his relationships when he was riding a bike. And as he grew older and had children, and some of his kids had ADHD, and there was all different kinds of things going on, he felt like there should be a way to prove that riding a bike can help facilitate kids with ADHD to be able to manage their daily obstacles without using medication. So that's how the Riding for Focus program started, through Specialized Bicycle. Since then, it grew and it became what they call Outride now. So if you were to look up the program, it's called Outride, and they made it bigger than ADHD. So they made it to be for any kind of obstacles. It could be, so their slogan is, what will you outride? And like for me, I put a big sign up, I'll outride stress. I have a stressful life. And for other people, it would be I'll outride distractibility. For some people, it could be outride hunger. It could be outride whatever it is that they're dealing with in their life, being overweight, not having friends, being bullied, anything you can think of, social norms, whatever it is that works for them. They found that riding is such a way, riding a bike in particular, is such a way to help kids deal with this. So one of the quotes that's on here, where it says, do you remember the feeling the first time you rode a bike, the thrill of climbing up on two pedals and doing something all on your own, that overwhelming sense that suddenly anything was possible? That really struck me. I thought that was just so cool to see the kids be able to have that feeling. I grew up on Long Island. I grew up on a bike. You see that meme on social media, where were all your friends? All the bikes were on the driveway or on the grass. That's how I grew up. That's how we found everybody. Kids are on phones and not doing that now. So, okay, I'm ready for the next one. So Outride, talk a little bit about the organization, then I'll talk how we use it in school. So it's an organization providing data-based evidence that cycling interventions can help improve emotional, social, and health for today's adolescents. So we can go to the next one. So what do we do in Dryden? In Dryden, in the fall, we've taken on this program. But the first year we did it, we taught the entire school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We did that because of the way the structure in our school is. So our structure has 6th graders taught all together as 6th graders. 7th and 8th graders are co-ed classes. So the very first year, we decided we're going to teach everybody this curriculum. bike fit, helmet fit, starting and stopping, balancing skills, navigating the roads, signaling. You know, I don't want to read everything to you, but basically road readiness so that they can get on the roads, they can ride to school, they can be out in the public, they can ride to their friend's house, and they have this freedom and independence that they really haven't been able to have. And we think that's important for kids to be able to have, to grow and be productive in our society, basically. So we teach all of that stuff in Dryden. We went with the whole school because the way our structure is, if I just taught the 6th graders, they would be going into 7th and 8th grade classes as 7th graders, and the 8th graders wouldn't have had the curriculum. So we needed to teach everybody, and we wanted our 8th graders moving on to have the information. So if they did any biking, or we can get them, you know, they're a little more independent, maybe they can ride to work and so on when they're in 9th grade, and again, be productive in our community as well as, you know, for recreation. So we took on the big task of teaching the whole school. Everybody loved it. That the first year we were just going to do the whole school, and then it was going to become a 6th grade curriculum. That every year they're like, the teachers love it. They love seeing the kids. They love looking out the windows. We see kids in the community riding more. The kids are always like, when are we riding? When are we riding? We do it for an entire marking period. The whole fall, 10 weeks, we ride bikes. So as you can imagine, we have kids who have varying abilities. The first 2 years, I taught over 60 kids how to ride a bike, which that's a lot of kids who have never had the opportunity to ride a bike. But so we taught 60 kids to ride a bike in the first 2 years. Now every year we're getting a few, not quite as many as the first year, because we've had them for 2 years then. By the end of my first year, when we taught all the entire school, there was only one student who couldn't ride a bike left, who just didn't get it. We take our adapted PE classes in. We have adult-sized tricycles. So we make sure that our adapted PE kids get to ride as well. They love being mixed in with the regular classes, and the kids love having them there. It's fun for them to ride with them. Our campus is broken up into, I'm talking fast, Long Island, sorry. Our campus is broken up into 3 different sections for teaching. And the way we teach it is we have we used a parking lot, and we call that our training oval. And that's where we do all our skills, and our beginning riders get there until they can pass the skills of start and stop. Handbrakes, we have handbrake bikes. They can pass their road signals so that we can allow them to go around campus, because there are cars on our campus. So they have to utilize all the road signals, stay on the proper side of the road, make sure they're signaling, using the stop signs, being visible. We talk a lot about being visible, because even though they can do everything right, we have cars who don't expect to see them. So we do a lot of that so that we can get them in the community safely. And then we have a trail. We have a mountain bike trail that goes out through the back of our campus. So we have all levels. We have 3 different levels of areas that they can ride. They earn their way, similar to, I like how, was it Megan had, they earn their pedals. For us, they earn their way to go from the training circle into around the building, because they're now showing road safety, and then into the mountain bike trail, where they have the most independence. You know, it's not as easy for us to be eyes on them the entire time. So that's where their most independence are. Okay, next slide. So I just kind of explained how we do it. We ride all fall, and that picture is pretty special to me. I know there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bicycles there, 4 bicycles there. To see kids' bicycles on the bike rack in the fall is the coolest thing. I mean, we don't see kids riding to school. I don't know if I'm just more apt to notice them now because I've just gotten into the biking, but I don't remember seeing so many kids on bikes until we started this unit. And now having the freedom to ride to school for some of the kids has been pretty awesome. Then they get to go be with their friends after school, and they have, you know, mode of transportation, and their parents don't have to try to lug them all over the place, which in our community is difficult because we're a very rural community. We don't have sidewalks in much of our community. So our kids are not, it's not like being downtown where there's a lot of people around. Some of them may have to ride a few miles just to get into town in order to be around their friends. And they do that. They utilize the Dryden Lake Trail all the time. We'll find kids on the Dryden Lake Trail. They can find a way to get onto that Jim Shug Trail, and then that's a nice, safe place for them to ride. It's kind of like their, the LIE. It's their LIE. It's their way to get through town and go from one end to the other and be safe. So Okay, next one, please.
That's the Long Island Expressway for those of you who may not
Oh,
know.
sorry about
I did not know that for a long time.
Yeah, it's a special place, the Long Island Expressway. So this is what the kids say. These are all just, hey, I gave them index cards. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what you think about the biking ride. So I feel free. You can see our kids. That's the training oval where they are right now. Thank you so much. My mom lets me ride at home now because I learned bike safety rules. I didn't like sharing the bikes. We need more because some of our big classes, they had to like, okay, you get 7 minutes and then you have to share, you know, we didn't have enough bikes. So they wanted more bikes so they can be all with their own. I just love being outside. That was a huge one for a lot of kids, just the ability to be outside. We have so many kids who go to school and go home and they're not outside playing and they don't get that fresh air. My family is riding now. Some kids didn't like that we had to teach the rules. That always cracked me up because they just wanted to ride. They didn't want to learn how to start and stop properly. They didn't want to learn the signals. There's no cars coming. I don't have to, you know, leave us alone and let us ride. So that's always fun because that's middle school. I was so scared to ride and now I'm not. When we first were working on getting the program, we asked how many kids, we did a survey in the school and asked how many kids had bikes, access to bikes and so on as we were applying for the grant. And we found that a lot of kids were not allowed to ride their bike, perceived danger, perceived risk within the families, people not having the opportunity to be able to teach their kids, road readiness, driver's awareness, all kinds of reasons where their parents were like, nope, you're not going out on your bike. It's not safe. So when we taught the safety rules and we got all those rules of the road and parents saw that we had actual courses set up in the school, the kids started to earn a little freedom with their parents too. And they were able to teach their parents what we taught them and the rules and whatnot. And that helped a lot for them to be able to ride to school and get to go out with their friends. So that's what our kids think. So I'll do the next slide. This is what our teachers say. They love seeing the kids excited. They do notice, I don't know if I put it in there, but they do notice the difference in the kids' behavior and the kids' academics, which is what the program really started as. They noticed that in the fall. There's a lot of positive air about the kids. They have a lot more patience. They're less frustrated. They have patience to sit down and think, which they weren't always having. The teachers find that once the fall is over and some of it I think is like cabin fever, we get back inside, the fall's over, it's cold and we're all, cooped up. But they said they do notice the change in the kids' ability to attend, many of the kids' ability to attend. Some teachers want to ride with the kids. We ask them to come out and ride. Everybody's always welcome to ride with us. So we do invite people to ride with us. They can tell who's already ridden in the daytime because they're energized and alert. Here's a particular student, Travis, is so well behaved so he can stay after school and ride. So, that was a reward for him that if he made it through the day, he got to stay after and ride. That was on top of his PE. He got to ride in PE, but he also got rewards for his behavior. And that was very motivating to him. And all they talk about is riding bikes. So all fall, that's especially the 6th graders. That's all they talk about is the bike riding. 7th and 8th graders talk about the trail a lot because they finally make it out to the trail. Okay.
A quick question.
Yeah.
How long is the trail?
So our trail, if we go from, we call it the shed. It's one of those Averti storage containers. That's where all our bikes are. So if we go from the shed around the loop of the trail, it's 1.5 miles. So it's not bad. It's great for PE. They can go, once we do our skill work, they have to do skill work before they can go every day. So we do whatever our skill work is, and then they're allowed to go out through campus and they can take off on there. They actually find the trail is hard. So the 1.5 miles for them, some kids will get 1.5 loops. So, it's quite a ways to get to the trail. Then you get to the trail, they do that whole loop. Some will make that second loop and then come back. Others, one time around is enough. And then we find them in the training circle. In the training circle, we'll do like skill things too. So we always set up skill courses like, tight turns or little ramps or different kinds of features. We call them features. They ride over boards, they ride over bridges. So they have those kinds of things to play on too. So we usually get one loop on the trail and then back. They come back and play. This slide has a few pictures of some of the stuff we do. So we could see In the top left, we have we're signaling, we're slowing down to stop. There's a stop sign right at the bottom of that hill. That's just a friendly hi, the next one over. This is one of our students, one of our APE students, and Henry's riding one of our adult tricycles. We have 3 of them. And our adult tricycle, Henry's ability to ride is he can only pedal like halfway. He can't do a full circumference. So he is in his glory because he can't ride. He doesn't have the ability to ride anywhere else. So he can just like push that pedal hard enough this way where he can go up and around the building, which was to him was the most incredible freedom that he was able to go up and around the building.
Janine, quick
Yep.
question. What does API stand for?
Oh, adapted phys ed.
Oh, okay.
So those are our kids. I'm sorry. Those are our kids. Like everybody should just know that. Those are our kids who have special needs, whether it's physical or mental, learning disabilities and so on. So all of those kids, some kids are mainstreamed into our classes and some kids have an adapted phys ed teacher with them. So we bring all of them in. It doesn't matter. We'll have an extra teacher with us if we need to. They just ride with us. We have a kid on the Dryden Lake Trail on the bottom right. And that was, we took a ride out at the end of the school year. They got to sign up for like field day, the last day of school. And we took a trip out to Dryden Lake. I don't live far from Dryden Lake. So we got out there. I called my daughter. She brought ice pops down to the kids. We sat and played on the playground for a little while, had some ice pops, and we rode back to the school. So that was a lot of fun. We did 2 trips in that day. So I was able to I think I took 50 kids total, 25 and 25. And then the bottom left is just another kid enjoying, you can just see the expression on her face that she's just enjoying riding. Okay, next one. I don't even know what else I have left. So give a kid 2 wheels and you'll give them the world and let's see how far their legs can take them. That was another one of those, the feeling of freedom and then see what they're capable of doing. So that was another moving quote. That's from Outride also. I don't know if I have any more slides. Nope.
I have a question. I'm sorry if you answered this before, but I was wondering how you got the bikes and if that was through Outride.
That was through Outride. I'm trying to flip through all the people up here because I can't see who's talking to me. So that was part of the grant, and I did not say that, and it was zoomed through my head while I was talking about something else. We were given, so when we won the grant, we were given 25 bicycles from Specialized Bike and 25 helmets and an extensive bike curriculum. So part of data collection is that we all have to teach the same way and teach the same content. Otherwise, the data can't be valid. So I was brought out to California to learn the curriculum. So Outride brought us out there. Everybody had to learn how to teach it exactly the same so that we can collect the data to give to Outride so that they can prove let's get kids off medication and let's get them active. And in doing that for them, they gave us 25 bicycles, 25 helmets, and the in-depth curriculum. And then I got to go back the next year and be the teacher. So that's kind of cool. And then last year I didn't get to go back because COVID. We had to do it. I got to teach virtually, but it wasn't as fun, well, it was still fun, but it wasn't as fun as being in California.
And Janine, how many schools would you say in the country are doing something like this through Specialized?
Well, now there's 126 who have it before this year's awards. So the very first year they gave it to, I want to say they gave it to 9. Then they gave it to 13 more. Then they gave it to 26 more, and it's just growing and growing. And when it became Outride, they were able to get more money through other organizations, and it just became it's bigger than Specialized. And that's what the owner of Specialized, his name is Mike, and I'm losing his last name, and I feel awful that I'm losing his last name because he's a wonderful man. He realized it was just bigger than his small, it started out as this, we're going to take care of kids with ADHD and get them off medication. And it just kept getting bigger. And it's in England, it's in Canada. So it is international now. And it just kept growing and more people were interested in offering help and offering different kinds of things to make this Outride program huge. And one of the things they always say, it's getting more kids on bikes, getting more kids on bikes, getting more kids on bikes. And that's pretty much how they run it. You tell them what your average class size is, they give you those bicycles. So I was, I said, oh, my average class size is 25. That's my average class size. I have up to 40 kids in the class, but usually I have about 25. So I asked for 25 bikes. That's why those kids wanted more bikes, because I had classes of 40. And I didn't tell them my maximum class size is 40, but they would have given me 40 bikes if I told them 40. Like they get this amount of money and they just distribute it through all the schools. So
I love that they provide the curriculum. I'm not a teacher, but I would assume that that would be a barrier to teachers saying, I just don't have the resources or the time to create a curriculum for this, but it sort of comes preloaded.
yeah, and the curriculum is really easy to follow and they have pictures and everything. And so this year, because of COVID, we only see the kids once a week. So I did what they call it a flipped classroom, which means I sent them videos of the content we were going to learn. And they got to see that. There was videos and there were handouts, like different kinds of material for them to look and learn prior to coming to class. So then when they came to class, it was like review of what they saw online, because we're learning to be virtual learners now. So review of what they saw online, and here, let's go put it into action. So they even updated their curriculum to make it more flipped classroom friendly because of COVID. So not only have they already done all this for us because they need the consistency to collect data, not only have they been so clear and precise in how to teach it and what to do and set up the drills. Like they set it all up. There's pictures, there it is. And so with that said, it was so easy I thought it was so easy to just go through the curriculum and do it, just really smooth, and it's progressive. So they even have it in order for you. You don't have to think about, oh, what do I teach next?
Thank you, Janine. I feel like I'm you teach 40 children PE. I'm so impressed on so many levels.
Not right now. Right now, if I have 10 in my class, I'm like, yes, it's such a great class.
Yeah,
because of COVID,
interesting change. Yeah.
And
I just wanted to note two things. One, Megan joined us. So if you have questions, ideas, want to hear from her a little bit more. I also want to recognize that my Irish upbringing had me calling her Megan McGinley, and her last name is clearly.
I saw that.
It's better than Gimli. I get that a lot. Still in the year. I'm like, it's a Gimli with an N.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Megan. And so we shared pictures. I summarized mostly verbatim from what you sent me, and
Yeah,
Molly,
sorry I
did
didn't
you
have
want-
any more pictures. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Peg.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm sorry I didn't have more pictures. I looked back and I'm sorry again, Grace, I sent it so late. I literally sent it at 12 and I was like, I need to go pick my kids up. But I didn't have any pictures from when I was at BJM because I didn't have release forms for them. So I'm all for the kids now, but we just got the helmets on Monday. I don't know if you showed the picture of them trying to guess what was in the box. They were really into that. They're like, what is it? Is it a puppy, Miss Kinley? I was like, no. Yeah, Peg, what were you gonna say though?
Well, I was going to say for questions, Molly might have had a question, and now I see Lauren has a question. So Molly, was there something you wanted to ask?
Yes, thanks. Janine, I was just curious. So you started with the 25 bikes. I saw the quote, kids want more bikes. Did you end up getting more bikes, or are you able to make this program work with 25?
Well, we have a few bikes. So what we came up with was people would donate them once we got started. If people had decent bikes, they donated them from their garages. And then we took them into the bike shop to make sure that they were safe. So we have a local bike person. We have two local bike people we work with. We have a local bike shop that I actually bring the bikes into now, and he teaches me how to fix the bikes and does it just for, cost of any parts is all I pay. So he's working with the school. He's doing a great job. He's down in not the small mall, down in where Mexicali Rose used to be. So what is it called? Gorges. So
Gorgeous Cycles. Yep.
I take it to Gorges. So I take it to him, Tom. And Tom, I go in the back and he teaches me how to fix them, and I just pay for the parts of his cost. So he's been great to the schools for that. And then, so we got some donations, and that's basically, otherwise we share. We share when we have to, and we do the best we can, to get what we get. We can get more bikes from Specialized, but we have to, we have to pay for them. And quite honestly, I am the worst fundraiser. I'm not the worst fundraiser, but I'm the worst to ask for money. I never ask for money for anything. So it's always like, okay, I'm really going to need this. So I'll go fix the bikes myself because I don't want it to cost anything for anybody. And I'll go, and I always do that. And when people are always like, do a fundraiser, ask for money. I'm like, I can't ask anybody for money. I'm so bad at it. I got to have someone else do that for me because I do not, I don't know. I always feel like, keep your money.
Yeah. Does anyone have advice? I feel like, that's often folks who have like the ideas and the curriculum and all of the skills to put the program out. We don't necessarily learn how to get the money. So does anybody have any experience that they want to share about that or about anything else? I know there's another PE teacher on here. So if there's anybody else who has ideas or experience, please feel free to chime in about fundraising or anything else. So Glenn in the chat said that Syracuse does a bike giveaway every year where they get donated bikes and refurb them throughout the year. So maybe Ithaca can replicate that program. It's a good idea. I'll make note.
I think I very much don't have that much experience, but I've had good luck with grants, just writing grants, and it's a little bit different. I hear you, Janine, about asking for money feels really weird, but grants feel a little bit less pressure for me. So like writing them has been a little bit easier, and there's always, people are always into giving money for kids programs, especially I found. But again, I only have like a year of experience with that, but that's what I would say.
And, let's face it, with COVID, bicycling is trendy. It's take advantage of that. It's the thing to do nowadays. So there's grants out there for lots of bike related things. Okay, Lauren, you had a question.
Yeah, so I work with a group of high school students from IHS and LACS. They're the Sustainable Transportation Leaders, and they've been thinking of programs for the summer and next year that they could, just ideas that they could get into. And something that just came up yesterday was exactly what you two are doing, having bike education in elementary schools so that when kids get to middle school or high school, they can get around a little bit more independently. So I don't know if this meeting is a good time or maybe another time, but I'm sure that group would love to hear how they could support the work that you're doing and help grow it further.
So one of the things that I was working on doing, I do have a grant out. We're waiting to hear, if we get any money through. I was working with Tom from Gorgeous Bicycles, so it's actually going through his shop. So we're fingers crossed. But we want to do a bike rodeo and turn it into like not only just the rodeo, the initial rodeo, the 1-day thing. Then after we go through the rodeo, we want to do like 4 or 5 lessons of learning how to trail ride, learning how to mountain bike ride, and then have a culminating activity like at Hammond Hill, something like that, and make it like a 4-week or a 5-week, 6-week, something like that over the summer, 1 day a week, and not just for kids, for their parents and their families, so that it can be a family kind of activity, and we can all learn about it, and maybe that becomes part of their healthier lifestyle for the future. Then they get to see our trails and our like the Dryden Lake Trail and the rail trails, and then they can start thinking like, hey, we can utilize this, and we can ride our bike to go pick up the prescription at the at the drugstore, or we can ride into town, or it is a safe way for them to ride to school because the rail trail comes so close to the school, or so on. So that was one of the things we're trying to do. But that would be great to get your kids involved with.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to write that down.
Janine, is that is that in collaboration with like the Parks and Recreation Department or Community Center, or?
Well, so far, all I've done with it was apply for the grant to see if we can get money to do it. So we're waiting on here, and we got a note back saying, I think 2 more weeks that they got a big influx of grant applications. I'm putting my email, my school email in the chat right now so that if anybody wants to contact me, Lauren in particular, with things with your kids, here it is. There's only one T in Bennett if you look at it. People mistake that a lot. They put two T's. There's two T's in my name, but one in my email.
And Glenn just noted in the chat that National Bike to School Day is on May 5th, which is cool. And which makes me think of something that that Janine said about the last day of school ride. And it got me thinking, imagine if there was a last day of school ride at like every school in Tompkins County, you know? I mean, I know that's far in the future, but you know, well, maybe it's not, I don't know. I just thought, what a great thing for kids to look forward to.
I'm glad you put that, the date was 5/5 because I knew it was in May and I hadn't looked it up yet to do it. So I got to get a permission slip out this week.
We still do permission slips, huh?
Well, we just have to have, it's just so much liability. Could you imagine
yeah.
if something awful happened
I
on the
haven't thought
way?
about that in 40 years.
Ugh, it's terrible.
Yeah, that might be, if you don't already have a program going, might be a way to gauge to who's interested or who's able by encouraging folks who already can or have the resource. Yeah. Jay, did you have a question? I saw you.
Well, it was more of a comment. I mean, we kind of touched upon it a little bit, but I was just thinking, has there been any thought about like, you know, maybe organizing trips that are purely utilitarian, as in maybe organizing bicycle trips like the grocery store to maybe downtown commons, teaching kids about, you know, panniers, bicycle baskets, trailers, that sort of thing, about all the ways you can, you know, more easily go around town doing errands, that sort of thing, because it's it is one thing to be, you know, because bicycling is a different experience depending on the setting. And I feel like, you know, especially when I first gave up my car, one thing that always intimidated me was, oh my God, how am I going to do my everyday grocery runs, my everyday errands? And I think just doing it, especially doing it with a large group of people, just to kind of make you feel more comfortable, share ideas. I think that's a great experience for kids to have, because that's a huge part of, you know, gaining independence at that age. Is like, you know, how, not just how can we go out for a joy ride, but how can, you know, we go to the movies, pick up some, you know, ice cream at Wegmans with our friends, that sort of thing.
So yeah, that makes me think also of the family engagement too, of just thinking beyond the classroom, but also, you know, creating some opportunities too for families of younger children too, to put the skills to use in that functional way. Yeah, it's not something I thought about in this context, but makes a lot of sense.
Ooh, I just had a thought. It'd be amazing to get like a cargo bike and maybe do like a large grocery trip with the students and show them how to use it.
I'm always a big fan of just the old kids trailer. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking, Jay, and directly with Megan, just I know you were really brainstorming things you could do with your first graders, and you know, my kid, I have 3 kids, and we really worked on setting them up so they could be independent on bringing their instruments and their bags and their basketballs and whatever, you know, kid related stuff. And so, yeah, having, Jay, as you were talking about, more utilitarian trips, but really having that focus on what types of, you know, equipment would make it easier for you to bring what you need with you, the baskets or the little trailers and what's out there. So yeah, I'm sure your wheels are turning too, Megan.
I was just thinking about this winter. My partner and I got into cross country skiing a bit, and bungee cords do wonders for 2 pairs of skis on a bike. Like just tied to the frame, like a lot of that stuff that then you think you can with string and bungees.
Yeah.
And you know what, this just came to mind when you said winter, Megan. One of the projects I thought would have been cool to do this winter, when a lot of us were cooped up and inside, was to give kids and their parents, caregivers, plans for making a simple like 2x4 bike stand, so they could bring their bike in the winter and ride in the winter. So you know, I didn't go anywhere because I didn't take it anywhere, but that's, you know, another thing to keep somewhere in my file for another winter.
Like, were you thinking for like putting it up like a stand to work on it so you could like clean it, or just like to...
No, although that would be another good thing. I was thinking like a stand that would raise the back wheel off the floor and still let it turn. So they're very simple. You can find plans on the internet where you need, you know, a few bolts and some 2x4s or 2x6s maybe. And for a simple plan, you can put it together and bring the bike, you know, on the porch or in the basement or in the living room or wherever, and you can still ride and you can still shift and, you know, everything. They make commercial ones, but you don't, you know, you can build one yourself.
It still you could use that to work on the bike though, because a lot of it you need to like turn the chain and stuff. So you could use it for both.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Very true. And, you know, I even connected with the Science Center to see if they would, was it the Science Center? No, it was there's a community group that does science education. Oh, what are they called?
Is it the Free Science Center? The one
That's
on, they're amazing.
That's it. Yep. I thought that might be a good project, you know, for them, and we didn't end up connecting, but.
I guess I find myself wondering, there's so many great ideas, and there's already so much that's been implemented that it could be replicated and is inspiring. I'm just wondering if there are any barriers that that you faced that you haven't gotten around with them implementing these programs, or ones that you foresee. Like Megan, you mentioned maybe like a need for bike repair, which we should talk about another time. We have a lot of volunteer mechanics, so I think we could try to work that out. But are there any barriers that folks could be thinking about, or that you also might want to get some feedback on while we're all here?
I think Janine kind of already said it, but bikes, like, just I am very jealous of the schools that have their own fleet with all of the same bikes. And I think, I can't remember if I talked to you, Molly, about this when we dropped off bikes, but like the fact that you have one type of bike and you only need like one certain size of wrench to take the pedals off, or to like adjust the seat. Even like they don't have like quick releases for the seats. Like you have to like use the wrenches for it. So whatever program Cornell had that gave the school district those bikes, if there's any way you could like make that happen, and that's like far and away like the biggest thing, because unless we're able to shuffle the bikes, which would be great, we're only going to have them, or I guess hoping that we can shuffle the bikes, so like one school does it in the fall, school does it in the spring. We're only going to have them for half the year, which means that I don't have the second grade class that in our school district, it's usually second grade that does it in PE, but I would like to use them for like field trips and just like in curriculum every day. And I only have half of the year to do that, which is not a huge deal, but like we have the space for it. It would be really nice if we had all of the same.
Yeah, I'm curious. That's I think a huge barrier is equipment. And I'm curious, Janine, so the fleet, I'm assuming that you got from Specialized, is a uniform fleet, but then you said you've had some donated as well. What's your take on having a uniform fleet versus having some donations or different variety for kids to try?
Our uniform fleet was pretty cool because it's got various sizes. So even though it's all the same bike, we have extra small to large. So they just mixed the sizes up for us. The donated bikes we're pretty particular in, and the reason why we're particular in them, one is because they need to be safe. We do find the learn to ride kids like the donated bikes better. They tend to be smaller, the frame's not as sturdy, because our mountain bikes that we got from Specialized are a pretty hefty bike. It's a pretty strong, thick tire, you know. So when they get on the, lack of a better term, the Walmart bike, you know, the less expensive learn to ride kind of bike, they're less intimidated. They can be intimidated by the bigger bike. So we really like having them. We work hard on maintaining them, and just, you know, try our best. I'm selective of what I keep. Some people bring me donations. If it's not one that we can use, I send it off to the mission, or, you know, try to give it away to a kid. If I know a kid will use it at home, I've sent bikes home with kids, you know, as is, and they can fix it if they want to, kind of thing.
I just shared a picture of a trailer I've used a trailer exactly like this as a mobile museum for years, and it's got 2 ramps. You could configure the walls any way you wanted to, but you know, I'm dreaming now, but imagine if there was a trailer like this that was shared between schools, the school district, and teachers could almost check out, you know, the bikes for a field trip, or for my class, or for whatever. Of course, there's lots of issues with transport and everything, but you know, one option. And then it could be parked, and it would store the bikes without any real estate questions.
Bike storage is definitely an issue. So it's hard to, like I said, we have them in a Verdi trailer.
Yeah, that's a good solution.
Construction. It was one of the construction trailers while Dryden was under construction, and we just keep renting it. We don't have a place to store our bikes yet. This is our 4th year having them.
Well, it's 1 o'clock. And I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. We'll be doing this again. Peg, I'm having trouble with my screen sharing, so that's we have a slide for this. Yay, there we go. We're going to be doing this again in early June. There we go. June 8th, to be exact. We'll have Tara Esquerdo from Elmira Bikes to talk with us about community bike shops. We are always excited to get feedback about topics, to continue the conversation in other ways, to connect people. So just feel free to be in touch before then. Yeah, and we'll send out, within the next week or so, we'll send out slides. And yeah, bike kitchen, totally.
Bike kitchen, oh, I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know there's a San Francisco bike kitchen, so, but there might be other ones, but it's a great example if you're curious. There's a long time between now and June 8th, so look up bike kitchens and community bike shops, and we'll have a great time chatting about them. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Janine.
Yes, thank you, Janine. Thanks, Megan. I think she's already left. Thank you, everybody, for your questions and participation. If there's something else you want to see out of this network, please get in touch with Grace or I. Would be happy to explore anything related to bikes.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the great info.
Yes.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Jay. Wait, everyone.
Enjoy the weather. Go for a bike ride.
Yeah.
I can still hear you, but I can't close it. There it is.
Oh. Jay, what link did you share here?
Just a portable indoor bicycle rack. It's the bikes are put up virtually. I thought maybe that could be possibly a solution for you know, bicycle storage. Like you could set it up like, you know, against a bare wall.
Okay.
Any wall where there's room. So
I'll have to look.
yeah, looks great.
All right.
Yeah, I can't keep renting that trailer forever.
All right.
All right, yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna get a bike ride after this. I still gonna be here for a couple more hours, but as soon as I get off, first thing I'm gonna do.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. I'm curious,
All
who's on the phone at 331-3025? Mystery calling.
All right.
Okay, thank you, everybody. See you next month.
Take care.
Bye.